Hey my organic family, and welcome to Tutorial Tuesdays. Today I wanted to do something a little bit different and unique. I want to show you how to make a hospital blanket. Now, if you guys have followed me during the winter and fall, you guys know that I make these blankets, and thank you to many of you who have purchased these blankets. But today I wanted to show you how to make a blanket for someone that may be in the hospital. Now, because it's spring, you may be thinking, I don't want to do a blanket, but there are people that still have surgery and people that go to the hospital or have surgery in the hospital, and they're almost always cold. And so this is a great way to give them something special if they're going to be in the hospital. And this is also a take on the chemo blanket that I do. If you guys don't know, I do a chemo blanket for people who have cancer, and we scent the blanket with things that are helpful for the nausea and vomiting that they may experience. So I use essential oils that help them, prevent or try to at least mitigate throwing up and that nausea. So without further ado, today we're going to start with the hospital blanket. I'm not going to do a full blanket because I'm just teaching you how to do this, but I just want to give you an idea. So I'll probably do what is called 10 chains. So the first thing that you want to do, you want to get your ball of yarn. We purchased this from Hobby Lobby, and Hobby Lobby usually has this on sale. So it's usually twice a month that they have this on sale, and it is the Yarn Bee brand, and it's $7.99. Now you'll need a lot of these in order to make a full blanket, but you're just making this blanket for someone that's in the hospital. And the average width of the bed, I believe, is 36 inches. So the first thing we're going to do is unravel our yarn. So this is what it looks like. This is one end. And then we're going to tie a knot. And the way that I do my knot is I use about 2 or 3 fingers, depending on how big you want your loops. Well, I want my loops a little small, so I'm going to do 2. I'm going to bring my yarn over, and I'm going to roll it like this. Roll it around, bring it up under, and that gives me a knot. And that's your first knot and your first chain. So that is called casting on. So the next thing we're going to do is bring our working yarn, and we're going to bring it over in the direction that we're going. I'm left-handed, so I start this way. So you have your loop of your yarn, and you can tighten it right now and you can loosen it up, but I like to have it about 2 fingers wide. I like my yarn to be tight because I don't like it to be airy and holey, because when I say holey, I mean like holes. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to bring your yarn up under and out, and that's your second loop. You're going to do it again, pinch it in, and bring it out. Pinch it in and bring it out. And as you can see, you're starting a chain. Pinch it in and bring it out. Pinch it in and then bring it out. Pinch it in and bringing out. This is called finger knitting. Now, those crafters that do this with a needle, this is exactly what they're doing. I'm just doing it with my fingers. I don't know how to crochet. So this is called hand knitting or hand crochet. And you want to hold it where it doesn't get tangled up. Now, depending on the size of the blanket that you're doing, You want to count your chains if you're doing it for a baby, if you're doing it for an adult, if you're doing it for a throw. I love these. I have these all over my house. And we all, in my family, love blankets. So when we veg out on the TV, even my son, I taught my son how to do this. And before I lost my Facebook page, I had video of my son and my grandson making a blanket. So my son had his first baby at the end of 23, and so I wanted to do something very unique for my grandbaby, and this was one of the ideas that I found that I wanted to do. And so Braden has his blanket, Braden's dad has his blanket, then my family members, everyone loved it. Then I started doing theme blankets with sports teams. I did Dallas, I did Florida State, I did Ohio State. And then here in the clinic, I was treating someone that had cancer, and that person was dealing with a lot of nausea during chemo, and they're always cold. Most people complain about being cold, period, in a doctor's office having a procedure, but definitely cold while having chemo. And so I thought about, wow, why don't I infuse a blanket with things that I believe that are going to be very helpful and beneficial while they're on the table getting their chemo. And so we did a lot of ginger, a lot of chamomile, fennel, things that help with nausea, and peppermint. And so it started a little trend, and so we started doing these chemo blankets. So the last loop, once you've decided how long you want your blanket, you're gonna leave this last loop. Now, what I also want to tell you is that when you look at this blanket, like if we measure it right now, let's say it's 36 inches, it's gonna stretch out a little bit more. So 36 inches will end up being probably about 40, 42. So when we get to the end and have our last loop, what we're gonna do, that last loop, rather than leaving it here, we're gonna flip it up right here. And then we're now gonna bring our yarn over to the left because we're going the opposite direction. And what we're gonna do with this first one, we're gonna skip this one. We're gonna skip this loop and come back when we come back the other direction. The reason why we're gonna do this is because I want a nice, clean, braided edge. And in order to get that, you skip this first loop. So I'm gonna go under, and if you can just zoom in. So this next one, I'm just gonna go under this first loop and then bring that loop out. Go under and bring that loop out. Go under and bring that loop out. And I'm doing this really tight because I want this blanket to be very tight. I don't want there to be gaps in this blanket because they're cold and they're in the hospital, so they want something nice and warm. And we'll come in and pick up those stray threads later. Now, for demonstration purposes, I should have done a smaller blanket. And so this particular blanket is just a knit stitch, and subsequent videos, I'm sorry, let's make sure. So I almost skipped one. You got to be very careful not to skip one. because it'll show on the reverse side. But this particular blanket is just going to be a knit blanket, and then subsequent videos I'll do perhaps different styles. And then when you get to the last stitch, you're going to stitch this one up. And remember, we talked about once you get to the end, you're going to skip this stitch. So I'm going to skip this first stitch again, and then I'm just going to go to the next one. And now that I got my bearings, I'm going to go a little faster. And I'm going to continue this, and we'll be right back. Let me pause it. Okay, so we're back. As you can see, we've gotten a little further along with the blanket. And this is the pattern that the blanket makes when we're doing this particular kind of stitch, which is just a knit stitch. You can do some fancy things with this blanket, but I love just the regular knit stitch. There's a herringbone, there's a zigzag switch, and remember, we're back at this end again, and as you can see, that's begin to do a nice braid. So as we get further along, you're going to see a nice braided edge, and that makes it look really nice on the side. And so we'll keep doing this one more time, and then I'll show you how we use this to cast off. This is a wonderful project that you can do with the kids. You can do with your favorite person. And I love to do this. It's great to do like a matching blanket. With your honey boo. So we're just going to pretend that we've completed this blanket, and we're at the last row, depending. So what I'm doing now is making these double the size, because this is the end of our blanket. Remember, we're pretending. So these are a lot larger than the other loops. Never fails. And we're going to cast on. We'll be right back. Okay, so now we've finished the end of our blanket, and you're wondering, how do we in the blanket. How do we get a nice braided edge like this? What we do is we make those loops double the size, which is what I did. So right before you are finished with your blanket, make sure you have enough yarn to do what we call as cast off. So what I'm going to do is take these loops and I'm going to braid them like so. And so this will be the top of your blanket. And as you can see, you got a nice braided edge to the top of your blanket. And that'll be the top of your blanket. So right now we've only used one skein of yarn. So if you're doing a hospital blanket, you're going to need about 8 or 9 skeins of yarn in order to complete your blanket. But this is a great idea of how to start and how to do your blanket. And I hope that you are having an amazing day, and thank you for being with us for Tutorial Tuesday.